Throughout the past 2 years, No Man's Sky has received some huge updates and amazing features along the way. Hello Games has completely changed the face of this game, and much of it was for the better. But with all of the things added as well as the ones promised before launch, there are plenty of features a lot of people, including myself, would like to see being added in the next update. While the details so far have been sparse, we know next will bring up new ways to enjoy this game, but until that happens, here are 10 of the most requested features the No Man's Sky community has been dying to see in this game for ages. These are in no particular order whatsoever, and for the most part not something that was confirmed nor infirmed yet with the next update. So it might come with that update, it might come at a later date at some point, but all of that being said and done, let's begin. First on the list is third-person camera. Back in 2016, during one of the final interviews, a very interesting question was raised. Will a third-person mode ever be introduced in No Man's Sky? Up until then, we already kinda knew that this was primarily focused on first person and this game would exclusively play as that, and that the only way you could even see your character would be if somebody else would look at you. Not sure why reflections weren't an option. I mean, it's not like you're creating industrial amounts of glass anyway on a daily basis, but nonetheless, Sean himself came up with a very interesting answer. He said that if there is enough community demand for it, they would eventually think about adding it. Of course, the game has been going through some massive changes since then, and now we even have character models confirmed for the next update. Adding to this the fact that fans of No Man's Sky have requested third-person game mode since the very beginning, I think Hello Games could finally listen to them in this regard and implement it. The process of adding this feature would not be that complicated, I assume. There are already mods out there that bring third-person view in this game. Besides that, there's already a third-person option available in the game for almost a year now, and of course I'm talking about exocraft control. Like, you can already control them in third person, so why not just add that at least to starships? It would be awesome if not for player characters altogether. Second on the list is underwater exploration. Since most of the planets out there have some form of oceans or at least bodies of water, it's a shame that all of the content over there doesn't get to be explored too much. Outside of a few creatures here and there and maybe some underwater plants, there's no real reason for you to ever do anything in there, like, well, outside of committing suicide by drowning if that's your thing, or you're extremely unlucky and you find your base being stuck underwater. But many have looked at other games that have nailed the underwater gameplay perfectly. One such game, of course, is Subnautica, and it's very similar to No Man's Sky. The gameplay over there is amazing and it definitely deserves all of its praises. I think some of the concepts in the underwater gameplay could transition into No Man's Sky. I'd love to see deeper oceans with more and more crazy creatures as you go even further into the darkness. Underground bases could also make sense, have some sort of means of harvesting even rarer materials from the bottom of the ocean, or capture some very rare and hard to get creatures, study them, even some plants that could be used in some interesting farms and equipment. This could tie in very well with the new vehicle type that we might get in the next update. A lot of people have speculated it could be an underwater vehicle such as a submarine. Make it so that it would be the only means to submerge at very low levels and the only way to survive at that pressure. Of course, I'm not saying to bring everything from Subnautica into No Man's Sky, but some of the features over there could definitely fit the theme over here. Since we're on the subject of exploration anyway, many have expressed concerns that the current way you explore worlds seems rather, well, lacking, and I kinda tend to agree. Most of the time you find yourself traveling from one planet to another in hopes of finding something good, and when you finally do, there's really nothing over there to make it interesting. Like, there's no real sense of mystery in it. I never feel too compelled to explore a planet extensively, mainly because I know exactly what to expect from every single situation. Yes, we can find some really interesting scenery, take a few screenshots here and there, but there's nothing dangerous lurking around the shadow. There's nothing around the corner tempting me to go there. I know Hello Games are addressing this in part with the new confirmed planet types we're getting in next, such as the ringed ones, but I also want to see the already existing environments being improved. It would also give joint exploration much more meaning, and it would compel communities and players to work together more. Since multiplayer will be an even bigger feature than ever before in Next, how awesome would it be if we went on a co-op mission with our friends in a never seen before part of the universe without having any idea what type of dangers are waiting over there and what kind of amazing things we might find and document. This is of course something that I'm not sure how long it will take to be implemented, but I really hope that Hello Games makes more steps into this direction. Fourth on the list is procedurally generated cities. While this feature might be the most far on the list of things that could make it into the next update or in No Man's Sky whatsoever, I think some form of procedurally generated cities or at least small towns would give this game a whole new face. I'm not necessarily implying we ought to have huge empires with skyscrapers and millions of NPCs inside of them, but something at the levels of towns or smaller cities could be interesting. One of my biggest peeves with this game is its complete lack of sentient beings being present on planets. Some mods out there have showcased how cool it would be to find aliens randomly on the planets, not just animals out in the wild, I mean like legit Corvex or Viking or even Gags over there just minding their own business and documenting, much like what we do, and not just sitting on their butts all day on the space station or inside some outpost just checking their tablets and whatnot. Someone on Reddit even made a concept mod that kinda does this. It kinda builds cities out of already existing textures and models in the game, and it looks freaking awesome. While I do think that colonies can fix this in part, I'd also love to see and interact with random aliens going through their daily business and, you know, just have some random encounters. It would be freaking awesome. Number 5 is character or armor customization. Since Next will bring the very much needed and for the very first time player models in this game, the next best thing in the world would be to just add some form of customization. While I don't expect this feature to make it in the next update, I think there might be a chance that somewhere down the line Hello Games will implement something like this in No Man's Sky. There's also the question, why do the character models on the cover art look so distinct from one another? They not only have different colors, but their suits are also different. Could this be a clue towards some type of character or armor customization being present in the following update, or is it just procedurally generated like everything else? With multiplayer and co-op becoming such a big deal in this game, at some point this feature I think will be a must and people will demand it. While we're still at it with the customization, the next point on the list is of course Starship customization, and this is something that time and time again I talked about and mentioned in many of my videos. You've heard me many times before talking about Starship building and upgrading, and not just doing it in the inventory slots, I mean genuinely doing that visually on the ship itself. While the current rate of hunting ships is definitely rewarding at times, especially when you get that extremely rare max rank ship, it sometimes feels like it's just another toy you can always get rather than a personalized ship that you absolutely need to upkeep and upgrade in order to survive the harshness of space. At this point it feels as if I can just use my ships as trading commodity and just have so many of them, but none of them feel mine, not in the true sense of the word. Maybe even have the technology blueprints for every single detail you want to change, or let us scrap parts from other ships and put them onto others. I felt so bad when I had to abandon my starter ship because I immediately found something even better. Instead, the player could continue using their first one and keep adding parts to them and making them even better. It doesn't really make sense being stranded in the middle of the universe outside of any form of civilization, yet we are able to acquire essentially fleets upon fleets of ships and don't really care about their existence. Like, we can just throw them because we can always afford another one, so it doesn't really make sense. planets in that regard. The modularity already exists within the game anyway, since every ship out there is procedurally generated by the game, and the game itself picks bits and pieces when it makes these ships. So the parts already there, why not just give us this feature from the very beginning and just put them inside some UI that we can control, make our ship even better visually, not just stat wise. 7 on the list is something that was actually present in the old trailers, and I'm talking about freighter battles. While the previous features might seem a bit too far out of the reach, this is probably one of the only features on this list that I am surprised didn't make it in the game so far. Like, I'm talking about freighter battles much like we saw them back in the old 2014 and 15 trailers, and we even had freighters fighting inside the atmosphere of planets, so that would look so cinematic and so cool. Like, currently I can pretty much use my freighter as another means of stacking my items and keeping my ships inside of them, but that huge supermassive Star Destroyer is pretty much useless in combat. I can't even call it in combat. Even if I do have it in such an event, it doesn't really do anything. It's just another huge money drain that happens to look good, and it does have its uses, but its main use should always be combat. Especially if you're buying the 500 million supermassive ones, you should really be able to use those in battles, and not only that, but also encounter freighters fighting with each other. That would be like super awesome. So far, the only battle freighters ever take part in is during some random event that happens every now and a while, and it's really hard to trigger. I would love to put my mothership at some good use, so for the love of God, Hello Games, please add this feature. This is something that should have been in the game for a long time. Number 8 is more planet types. So far, only one additional planet type has been confirmed in the next update. I'm talking about ringed planets, of course. It's amazing to see them finally being brought in, but there are many more types out there, and especially even biomes that I would love to see. We've already talked about gas giants, and I would definitely love to see something like that. Even if we can't physically land on such giants, I would definitely love to see them in space. Like, typically in real life, you wouldn't be able to go down there unless your ship was made out of something almost indestructible, because since it's mostly made out of gas and quote-unquote the weather over there would absolutely destroy and rip you apart, it would be fun to have something like that in the game. Even if you can't physically land on it, it would be fun to see me being disintegrated and dismantled after trying to enter its atmosphere. But of course, there are many other types of planets and biomes that they could add. For example, I'm talking about planets fully covered in lava or volcanoes erupting. That is something that I really wanted to see ever since I saw the trailers for No Man's Sky. I know there's plenty diversity in the game right now, but I would really love to see these extreme environments that really make me feel scared and really make you feel like you could lose everything if you got too close. Number 9 is gravitational variation, a big one on the list, and it's seriously probably something that I want to see as soon as possible. While there is some lore explanation behind why every planet in the universe of No Man's Sky has the same gravity, I'd like to walk on an empty moon in low gravity mode and just jump all over like a maniac for hours to an end. That would be like so amazing, and I know that our so-called spacesuit is responsible for adapting, quote-unquote, to every type of gravity pull, but I would love to be able to just turn that off and have fun in low gravity. That would be amazing. I am more than sure that there is some huge technical challenge behind this, but many other such technical limitations have been surpassed before. This would definitely make the entire space experience feel more, well, spacey. Last but not least is something that is universally accepted by all the members of the community, and of course I'm talking about graphical and performance improvements. So far, pretty much everybody, no matter how good or bad your PC is, or even on the console, the game just runs bad at times. It can get really bad with dips into 30s or even lower than that, especially if you're playing on max settings, and even more so if you're going on a lush paradise that happens to have many creatures on it. And this happened to me on many occasions, even though my PC is rather good. It's just annoying having this game that, even though it's aesthetic as heck and it looks good, doesn't really look that graphically impressive to justify the graphical demands it has. Even with a high-end PC, you're going to have some very fluctuating performance. This is something that I really want Hello Games to focus on for the next update, especially since we're getting multiplayer and player characters, even with the colonies that get added and the amount of structures that we will be able to build. This is something that should be on top of the priority list, so hopefully we get that with the next update. So yeah, these are basically the main features many of the fans, including myself, have wanted for some time. Some of them are more achievable than others, some might even make it in the next update. Comment your opinion down below if you feel there's something I've missed. As always, if you enjoyed this video, go ahead and hit the subscribe button for more awesome content like this. Also, don't forget to leave a like on the video and activate that notification bell, and I will see you guys next time.